Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 10 o'clock, and we are now joined by our sports correspondent, and that is you, Vakir Dawood, to pay tribute to the Brazilian football legend Pele. I don't think there's a person around the world, even if they're not a football diehards, who hasn't heard about this great. So, Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program, Thakir.
Welcome, Salam. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor being on your show once again.
Lovely to have you here. I know that I think you're on leave, but we've asked you to be with us this morning on the show to truly pay tribute to a football great. You must have been following from a very early age. You must have been, and heard a lot about him. I know that you are absolutely a sports fanatic. Every code of sport is of interest to you. So, what were your first memories of how you came upon and heard about this football legend?
Well, for me, it was pretty much like a folk talk, if you that, because I've never had the opportunity to watch Pele play myself and obviously see the headlines, like everybody's been speaking about it. But speaking to the older generation, and they'd always tell you about Pele. And, once you start your research and you watch documentaries on him, and then the pieces of the puzzle come together. As
Mm,
to how great he really was
mm.
playing his first World Cup at the age of like 16, which is insane. Many of us are probably still in school worrying about if we're going to pass our next exam at that age.
Yeah.
So it's stories like that that are actually inspirational and motivational. And then going on to be the most crowned world player is also another feat that I don't think anybody can come near to. Not even the greats like Messi and Ronaldo can come close to winning 3 World Cups. Messi winning his first one of his career now recently. So it's things like that actually make a great player. And besides the numbers, the silverware has to show for it. And those are some of the great memories that you have of Pelé. And also, if your listeners have time, they should actually check out the documentary. It's available on DSTV. Just to give them more insight and background to how great this player actually was and where he comes from and his background that makes it even so much of a great story.
And as you say, you obviously very, very young, so you didn't have the pleasure of following him in his
Oh, you
lifetime.
had a break
But you,
in the line there?
all right, you undoubtedly watched documentaries of and you've watched his games. Um, do you truly believe he is as great as people have made him out to be? And if you've just said now that even the greats like Ronaldo and Messi, as great as they are, still are no patch on him. Would you stand by that? Lots of people are saying things like that. Okay, we seem to have lost Thakir. He was on a very, very bad line. I'm wondering if we should just leave it because it is after 10 o'clock. It's almost 10 past, and see if we can't schedule him for tomorrow. So I think my control is trying to reconnect. If not, we will then postpone this interview for tomorrow. Is he there? Let's try that line one more time.
I'm standing by. The line is just bad. I don't know why it's broken.
Thakir, can you hear me? I was just suggesting that if the line is very bad, we could leave the interview over for tomorrow. Did you hear my last question?
I didn't hear your last question, but the line is so much clearer now.
All right, wonderful. You indicated that you have watched footage of his matches. Would you say that he is truly the great that he's made out to be? How would you compare him with our modern day football heroes?
I think the era that he played in for me was much more technical, and that's what makes him such a great player. Whereas the sport's evolved to become so much more faster now and more physical and more, let's say, more technical than it was. But at the time, we could definitely say that he's ranked amongst the greats. And to take at that time, there was the greats like your Cantonas, there was Maradonas, but nobody could play in that league as Pele. So I think if you compare him to a modern generation player, definitely be a combination of Ronaldo and Messi, the technical ability and the vision of Messi with the finishing and, let's say, the class of Ronaldo.
Uh, Back in the day, I mean, he died at the age of 82. So, really, back in the day, I'm kind of wondering, and today we are blessed with technology as well. And we know that technology and sports science truly assists today's athletes and sportsmen to a very great degree. We also have all sorts of performance enhancers, whether they are allowed or not, but all sorts of sports drinks, etc., that help sportsmen really perform at their peak. Back in the day, 70 odd years ago, that was not available to the likes of Pele. And taking that into account, it does indicate his greatness, does it not?
No, definitely. The sport was very much amateur, if you want to look at it way back then, where Pele is now played a World Cup at the age of 16, whereas these days you don't find any player being shifted into senior football at such a young age. But, looking at it back then, the old age trick actually worked. And the modern supplements are very similar to or let's say they have the same nutritional value as having an orange at halftime or having a bottle of water, glucose water, if you want to call it that. So it's all of these tricks of the trade that's actually just being scientifically modified to make it taste better for the players, but it ultimately still has the same effect. And looking at it, I think Pele's time, it's definitely a step up from where we are today, if you look at it. So I think the baseline of everything stayed the same. It was just a few changes that was made in order to get the players to perform at their peak performance like they're performing today.
Okay. Undoubtedly, he has motivated generations and generations of young people not only to go into the game, but to follow the game as religiously as they do. What from everything that all the documentaries that you've watched on him and what you're hearing as a sports journalist about him, what are your conclusions around this man?
For me, put football aside and just the story where he comes from, very humble beginning, and getting to build himself up to a point where he gets the tributes that he's getting today from some of the world's great political leaders, um, sportsmen, sportswomen as well, and just people from different spheres of life, because ultimately it's the person behind the athlete that everybody loved, and that's what made us love the athlete even more. And I think if many of us can implement the simple things that he's implemented in his life, he'd be a role model for many, and the world would be a better place.
Undoubtedly, I think he is a role model, and I think we just need to, very especially our young athletes of today, just hold up these type of people, the Muhammad Alis of the world, the Pelés of the world, the Maradonas, and a whole host more, too numerous to mention, for them to be motivated and know that if these people could have achieved, there's nothing stopping them. Takir, wonderful talking to you. I love talking to you. I'm not a sports person, but knowing that you're a sports journalist and a sports fundi, always a pleasure talking with you. Have a great day and go well.
Likewise, you too, Julia. Have a great day. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. That was Takir Dawood, our sports journalist. He presents on a Friday evening. And of course, at 10 after 10 exactly, it's time for me to wrap up. Thank you indeed for your company on this first show in the new year. right here on Salam Media. I do hope that you'll continue staying tuned to us. And I do sincerely hope and pray that we bring you the stories that you want to hear, that's going to make a difference in your life, is going to make you think, is going to make you question the status quo, and that you are going to become a part of the conversation in all of our shows, inshallah. Time for me to wrap up till tomorrow morning at the same time. As always, go well. Assalamu alaikum and Khudafiz from me, Julie Ali, and my controller, Abdul Salam.